Joseph Rocha, running for the state senate in California, District 40. The website is rochaforsenate.com. We're talking today specifically about gun reform. Joseph, you are a veteran. You are an admitted, you're a pistol owner. You're a gun owner. Part of your story involves your grandfather who was murdered by a gunman while he was sitting on his front porch. What of that experience are you open to sharing with us?
It was. I mean, I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Basically, my grandfather and my grandmother had a tradition where after they took their evening shower, they would go sit out on their porch just before their evening sort of hot chocolate, coffee, sweet bread style Mexican tradition type thing just before bed. And while my grandmother was in the shower, my grandfather was sitting out on the front porch. A deranged man, he shot my grandfather to death and left him there to bleed out. And I was about maybe 15, probably about 15 years old when that happened.
I'm going to guess that your grandmother had the misfortune of being the first to come across the scene. And my condolences for that. What a horrible way to lose someone. We are dealing right now with an unspeakable tragedy in Texas, and I'm wondering if the last 20, 30 years of gun violence in this country have contributed to your decision to run for public office.
It is one of the many issues that has gone on for too long. I think you'll see a thread along my peer group where we have seen these same issues since we were children. When we were children, they were supposed to be once in a lifetime events, and then they just never stopped happening. You know, I did serve for a span of 17 years, 10 years on active duty in both the Navy and the Marine Corps, starting as a bomb dog handler. I entered my military service knowing that it could cost me my life. And I did that certainly to protect people's constitutional rights, the Second Amendment among them. But it is not in the Constitution. It is not a constitutional right to be able to. There's no good way to say it. I mean, to take the lives of children in mass, mind you.
It seems inconceivable, and I believe that many people in this country, though they will accept this tragedy as having happened, will put up some sort of invisible barrier that really prevents the honest, disgusting destruction of young human life in this country to really permeate their souls. And I think that, you know, it's a difficult thing. I know you, like me, like other people in this country, have just been walking around in a daze for the last few weeks, days.
Well, Gary, if you don't mind, I mean, you were right the first time when you said a few weeks, because we have seen 2 hate crime mass shootings, and then now this mass shooting at a school. So we really have been walking in a daze for a few weeks. And you know, for my peer group as candidates, I think it's the first time where we've been in a position where we are engaging this completely differently, where we are now hearing from voters and possibly future constituents who are sharing their deep agony, their deep fear, frustration at inaction, and what it means for their children. I mean, you know, the question we get asked over and over again is, how am I supposed to pretend like this? How am I supposed to drop my children off at school in the morning and pretend like that's a normal thing to do now? And I think the most important thing is that we have to first and foremost acknowledge, like many of these issues, that there is a problem. And too many of our opponents won't even acknowledge that the world is reeling and that families are suffering right now. You know, in being in this position for the very first time and being somebody who doesn't like to just speak meaningless words for the sake of having a position and being an attorney, I went back to the law books and I looked back at the case law, and never in my wildest dreams did I think that I would be quoting Justice Scalia. But sure enough, in Keller, he says, like most rights, the Second Amendment is not unlimited. It is not a right to keep and carry any weapon whatsoever, in any manner whatsoever, and for whatever purpose. And so I I felt a lot of feelings when I read that, because it really highlights the fact that politicians who either do not acknowledge the issue or are belligerently refusing to act on the issue are really acting out of fear of the NRA and not out of any protection or strong feelings about the Second Amendment. I'll tell you from my perspective, the voter has every reason to be disheartened if something as simple as dropping their children off at school is not a guarantee of being able to pick them up anymore. So I think the system has surely failed them. I think it's incumbent on us to carry that weight, and that's what leadership is. The leadership is very difficult, and so I think that NRA dollars should be a litmus test for this midterm, because frankly, as I'm experiencing, you would think that I was running against a Boy Scout right now, because my opponent has such unfavorable positions and such an unfavorable voting record that he refuses to even speak anymore. I think that there is momentum to end this. I think that there's a question or a willingness to question why we're allowing ourselves to be restrained or convinced that the Second Amendment protects weapons of war in classrooms. I want to say things, and I'm just trying to be, I am just trying to be sensitive to these parents. Because there are very graphic ways to describe what has happened, and it is an impossible situation right now, because we can't become numb, but we also we have to respect these families they haven't even buried their children, and if a politician or a candidate can't say that that's wrong, or that they will act to change that in any way, in any common sense bipartisan way, then they don't belong in office.